Hi guys, I'm actually back within a reasonable time to do another video. I thought I would take advantage of my spring break to try to crank some of these videos out while I have time. Unfortunately, I have a buttload of homework to do that I'm kind of ignoring for the moment to do this, and I'm gonna end up probably waiting until the last minute before I have to go back to school to do it. But as of right now, my videos are more important. Then I saw this tag earlier today that I thought was really cool, and I decided I'd do it. It's by Padfoot and Prongs 07, called the Love It or Hate It book tag. Number 1 is top 3 favorite books. So this was just 3 choices of my many favorites that I ultimately decided on. The Harry Potter series as a whole is one. I couldn't decide on just one of them. Also Persuasion by Jane Austen. And for the third one, I ended up picking Eon by Alison Goodman, but it could as easily have been anything else. Number 2, top 3 least favorite books. The Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer. Yes, I am cheating again by naming the whole series. Also, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, for making me suffer through 10th grade English class reading that book. And the last one is the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn, which I don't think I've ever reviewed or mentioned in my videos before, but it is a series of Regency romance novels that I really was disappointed in. And it was 8 books for some reason. I bought and read the whole series, each time thinking they were going to be good, but I really did not like them whatsoever. Third question is top 3 favorite characters. I picked Hermione Granger because she's a nerd and she's extremely smart, and I've always been a nerd, but I don't think I'm really quite as intelligent as I would like to be for a nerd, and I would always love to be smarter just like Hermione. Eleanor Dashwood from Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, because although she's viewed as the so-called sensible sister, you might have this impression of her as being kind of boring and dull. She's actually really snarky, and it's a lot of nice comedic insights in her book about the other characters when you're reading Eleanor's point of view in Sense and Sensibility. And last, I picked Tris from Divergent. This year, I really enjoyed reading about her, and although she wasn't perfect, she had her flaws, I thought she was a really well-written character, very realistic given the circumstances, and really strong, and I loved her growth as a character as well. Number 4 is top 3 least favorite characters. First one is Alaska by Looking for Alaska by John Green. Oh my god, I could not stand her. She was so extremely annoying. Next is actually Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games series. I'm sorry, Katniss. I thought you were a well-written character, and I admire you in many ways. God, were you annoying. She really got on my nerves, and that's all I'm going to say. Last, I picked Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series for the same reason. Just reading that book, I really first started reading it, I wanted to just punch her in the face, but I couldn't because she's not real. She's just words on a page. What a horrible person is Dolores Umbridge. I hated her worse than any other villain in the series. Worse than Voldemort. She was horrible. I would have loved to read a gruesome torture scene, involving her as the victim, to really see her get her comeuppance in the end. But fortunately, I didn't get that. Number 5 is Biggest Letdown. I have had so many letdowns in the past couple of years, and I think I have mentioned all of them in my videos at some point or another, but I ended up picking... I picked 2, but I'm just going to say one, which you should know, is Graceling by Kristin Cashore. It seems to be a highly loved book on the internet. I loved the premise, reading this synopsis, and the whole idea of the story, but it really let me down in so many ways. Number 6, books you like that other people hated. This one was really hard because I feel that most of the books I like are generally liked by others and not hated. Maybe there's some that are not so popular, but it's really hard for me to say that any of them really are genuinely hated. They just might not be quite so famous as others. But I ended up picking Mansfield Park by Jane Austen because I feel that this is a really underappreciated novel, and although it's definitely not my favorite Jane Austen book, there are a lot of people out there who just can't stand it and hate the heroine and all this other crap. But I do think it's a really good book. Number 7 is characters that people love but you hated. All these were so hard. Most of these do have significant numbers of people who hate them along with me. I can't say I'm the only one who feels this, but I picked tie between Bella and Edward from the Twilight series, and I was debating between them or possibly Jace and or Clary from the Mortal Instruments, who are really kind of, I guess, like they would be the Bella and Edward equivalents from that series. But I picked Bella and Edward because even though there are a significant number of people who also hate them, I just hate them so much, and for so many reasons, my hatred runs so deep for the two of them that I had to choose them in the end. Number 8 is characters that people hate but you love. I picked Fanny Price, who is, funnily enough, the heroine from Mansfield Park. People generally do not like Fanny because she is not very similar to Elizabeth Bennet at all. She's pretty much the polar opposite of the more popular Jane Austen heroines, where she is been described as like a prig, insipid, all that kind of thing, and like weak and a pushover, whatever. I feel that she's actually had quite a strong moral character, and I really admire her for just kind of sticking to her morals. Again, even though she's not my favorite Jane Austen heroine, I feel like I have to show some love for Fanny as the underdog Jane Austen girl. Number 9, best quotes, is from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, where the quote is, "There's no need to call me Sir, Professor," by Harry to Snape, and ha 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 if you've read that part. Number 10 is the opposite, worst quote. Well, this was obviously, again, something from Twilight, and so many to choose from. It was really hard, and I just picked randomly "Do I Dazzle You?" by Edward. That was just bad. Just I don't even know if Twilight fans like that little bit of dialogue there. Number 11, books you didn't finish. One was Thank You for Smoking by Christopher S. Buckley is, I believe, the author's name. Sounded intriguing, but I read like a chapter and I just thought I couldn't get into it. It's kind of boring. The other one is Bel Canto by Anne Patchett, something like that is the author's name, about a hostage situation in Brazil. Good God, it was just killing me trying to read that book. Didn't like it at all. Other ones that I never actually finished were Scarlet by Alexandra Ripley, a sequel to Gone with the Wind. That wasn't very good. And The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. I thought I was really going to like that book, and in the end, I couldn't get through it. It was just god-awful. It was hurting me. I know a lot of people love that book, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't make it through. Number 12, what book have you read the most times? This is a toss-up between Harry Potter and The Sorcerer's Stone. and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, because I have reread that series so many times, and I know I reread Deathly Hallows and listened to the audiobooks a couple more times before the movies came out. But I actually think I've read Sorcerer's Stone, the first one, the most, because I would reread the series every time a new book came out, and each time that would include reading book one and not necessarily the later books. So I'm sure if I were somehow able to remember and go back and tally them all up, Sorcerer's Stone would be on top. Last question series where the first book was amazing but then went downhill are the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. Not to say that I didn't enjoy the whole series, but I thought the first book, The Hunger Games, was so brilliant and really just blew me away. Then they just gradually, the other two in comparison were not quite as good. Also, I haven't quite finished it yet, but the Study series by Maria V. Snyder, I thought Poison Study was just a really incredible beginning, breath of fresh air, so incredibly different from most fantasy series out there, really original. But Magic Study, I felt like was a little bit more generic in terms of fantasy and what went on in that book. And I'm still reading the last book, Fire Study, and I'm only about 150 pages in, and already it's very more similar to Magic Study, and it's not hooking me like the first one did. I'm having some trouble getting through it. Well, that is it for the Love It or Hate It book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I tag anyone who happens to watch this. There's also a special guest right there. He tags you too. So see you guys later.